Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the AFROmind Podcast. This is episode 7. If you have not seen the other episodes, please go ahead and check them out. There are some really, really good information. We have a new tagline, right? We're trying to heal out loud in a culture that whispers, right? How do you like that? How do you like that tagline? Thanks to Dr.
Yeah,
Tanisha,
that
our marketing manager.
I think that captures a lot of the sentiment in African communities where
Mhm.
especially when it comes to mental health or healing, it's very hash hash. We don't really talk
Mhm.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we would heal and not talk about it, probably wouldn't be a big deal. But we don't talk about it and we're not healing either. We
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm,
we just
mm-hmm,
keep doing the same things. And I think
mm-hmm.
that's a nice segue into the topic that we have today. Today we are touching on the many phrases and proverbs or the things that we have just said so much that many of us have internalized but no longer work
Mm-hmm.
for us.
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know and
Yeah.
of course, as a culture, we are very good at that's how we've always done things you know but we say
Mm-hmm.
no, we're not doing that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
today, Alice, I'm going to throw a lot of those phrases at you and have you break them down a little bit. I like to be more balanced, so what we'll try to do is maybe try to get why they came up with that phrase to begin with, and if it has any merit at all, right? And see if it has any merit at all before we break it down, right? So
Okay. Mm-hmm.
let's start with the easy ones.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
child should be seen and not heard,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any merits? Like, obviously, overall, it's not necessarily helpful, but why do you think that phrase maybe was created to begin with? A child
Mm-hmm.
should be seen and not heard.
And I heard, yeah. I really don't know the origin, but if you're thinking about it in a way that makes sense, maybe children can be they can be a lot. They can be very distracted. They can ask a lot of questions. So maybe they are curious, they want to talk, and maybe you take them into public, they may say things that could embarrass you as the parent. So
Right.
maybe that was the reason why um, they came up with that, right? That a
Mhm.
child is supposed to be seen and not heard. That we
You
can
know,
see you, but don't make noise. Like,
mhm.
or
Don't
do not
disrupt.
do not disrupt. Or if elders are having conversation, don't just butt in and say something that you don't know what we are talking
No.
about. It's adult conversation. So for me,
Mhm.
I would think maybe that is where
It
it's
started.
coming from. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that would make a little bit of sense. But as a culture, we are not good at
Mm-hmm.
balance. We're not good at
Mm-hmm.
balance, so then we broaden it so much that I feel like we end up shutting kids down and sometimes just almost crushing their
Mm-hmm.
spirits, right? So
Yeah.
now open it up a little bit more about kind of how harmful it has been, or part of it has
Mm-hmm.
been, and if there's a middle ground that we can address going forward.
Yeah. So I think some people. So there are people who think that kids have the worst intention in the world, that they want to manipulate, they want to take advantage of you. Somehow, adults think the children have this elaborate plan on how to take the adult down or manipulate the adult, right?
Mhm.
So versus maybe seeing it as curiosity, right? So let's say you, the adult, you've been here for 30 years, right? And this child has been here for maybe a year, 3 years. They are figuring out the world, so they are going to ask questions, right?
Right. Mhm.
I know, the 2 or 3 phases. It's a lot of why, it's a lot of no, a lot of sometimes asserting themselves, no, why, or also the language that you people use at home. That's when they would echo back to you, right?
Mhm.
Leave me alone, or things like that. They just say things, right? And I have
Mhm.
seen like my nieces and my nephews will go out and maybe something that we've talked about in their home, they would just start telling people
Blurting it out.
about
Yeah.
about
Mhm.
your business that, oh, Auntie Alice said this or Auntie Alice did this, and you're like, did anyone ask you?
Yeah, that's not for public consumption, kid.
Exactly, exactly. So so maybe, the curiosity. I think, first of all, parents have to have this idea that children are not here to manipulate you, right? They are this little people in this strange place. They have questions. They are still forming their idea of the world. They are still getting to know even you, the parent, even the
Right.
home that they live in. They are still getting to know it. And then the things that you tell them, they are also still also trying to make sense of it, right? So you are telling me, do not touch this, right? What do you mean by I shouldn't touch this, or why? And they may not even hear you if you explain. They will go back and touch it, right?
Right.
Because again, sometimes they want to do the things and then get the consequences and be like, oh, maybe this is why this person was like, I
Mhm.
shouldn't do this. But even there are times that they get a consequence, they still do it. So, um, so I think for parents, finding that, again, that middle ground,
Right.
that you're also trying to help them build boundaries, that okay, maybe there are things that we talk about as a family that when we go out there nobody's supposed to know, or there are things that you can keep to yourself that you don't have to tell
Other people.
anybody about. Exactly. And there are things that we only talk about as family. At the same time, I'm also here to answer your questions, right? Because I think that's also helpful, especially if you build that relationship during infancy, toddler phase. When they
Hmm.
become teenagers, they can tell you stuff, right? Because when they become teenagers is when they can do the illegal things and the things that can have some sort of more consequences for them. So
Hmm.
you would want them to come to you and maybe ask you questions and tell you stuff. But if you've already shut it off, the
Hmm.
history is that, oh, if I ask things, my parents are going to shut it off.
Hmm.
They are not going to come
Yeah.
to you if they have these, big life questions, of making decisions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's also an aspect of it that is, I guess, more kind of confidence based, because
Mm-hmm.
the child that is allowed to express sometimes, even when there are other people around, and is allowed to
Mm-hmm.
be heard, regardless of
Mm-hmm.
who is around,
Mm-hmm.
can be the child that builds the confidence to speak in public, can be the child that
Yeah.
feels
Mm-hmm.
trust their own instinct and their ideas,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like when we do that, a child is to be, seen and not heard, and make it
Mm-hmm.
such a
Mm-hmm.
blanket statement,
Yeah.
you risk,
Yeah.
you know, breaking a lot of talented people and making
Mm-hmm.
them self-conscious and
Yeah.
killing, their self-esteem. So yeah. There used to be a very popular aspect of the same phrase, but it was for a lady is to be seen and not heard. Have you ever heard that one before?
Yeah, I've heard of it
Yeah.
before.
But I
Yeah.
think that one is phasing and for good reasons. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't hear that
As
often.
as often these days. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Now the next one is Nyame na ehwɛ nipa. Nyame na ehwɛ nipa. It's God who takes care of kids,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that conversation typically comes up when somebody wants to have a child and maybe you express that they probably aren't ready, whether it be
Yeah.
financially or whatever it is. And then you would
Mm-hmm.
hear Nyame na ehwɛ nipa, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Break it down for us. What's your thoughts on this, Nyame na ehwɛ nipa?
Um, I think you see the religious aspect of it, right?
Mhm.
Um, Not only, yeah, you see the religious aspect of it, even not only like Christianity, but also even traditional religion, aspect of it. And it's comforting, right? If like economically you're not doing well, you don't have the resources. It's comforting to know that
Nyame na ehwɛ wo. Like
maybe
God will take care of you.
yeah, God will take care of you, right? So, maybe your anxiety, temper your anxiety a little bit. Do not overthink, do not stress out, because you have somebody who is looking after you, or who is going to make sure that everything works well for you.
Hmm.
So I think there is some merit to that, right? That
Yeah.
it can be comforting, it can be healing, it can help reduce anxiety, it can help reduce overthinking, all of these things that people may struggle with. So
Hmm.
there is an aspect of it that I say that, oh, okay, it's good if I'm going through some life tragedies, and the thought is that "Nyame na ehwɛ nipa," then it's like, okay, maybe no matter what I'm going through, Nyame bɛhwɛ me, and I
Right.
say Nyame will come through for me
For
in
you.
this moment, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now many people effectively use it to not plan towards things, right? Because we are hopeful that
Yeah, yeah,
nyame
yeah,
bɛhwɛ,
yeah,
so
yeah,
somebody will have three, four, five kids when they can honestly really just maybe afford one or most two, because
yeah.
nyame na ɛhwɛ nipa, it's
Mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
again, as a society, we are not good at balance. I don't
Yeah,
think the idea of nyame na ɛhwɛ nipa is to say that you don't do your due diligence and put yourself in horrible situations for God to take care of you, right? He gave, I
forgot.
think,
Yeah,
I feel like he
yeah.
gave us deductive reasoning and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
ability to analyze things for a reason.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
think we should all employ a lot of that before we make decisions
Reasoning, right?
as
Yeah,
huge as how many kids to have, right? I
that,
don't
yeah.
I don't want to, kind of double into whether you should have kids if you're not rich. That's a weird conversation. I don't want to get
That's
into that,
yeah, that's
right?
definitely
Yeah. But I feel like the number of kids to
mhm,
have at the
mhm,
very
mhm,
least,
mhm.
I feel like that piece, don't leave it to Nyame Nipa, and at least, kind of think through if in fact you can take care of three kids and give them the best possible life, before you
Yeah.
go into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, because there is aspects of life that we don't have control over, right? And
Hmm.
then there are aspects of life that
We
we
do.
have control over. So, finding where they meet, right? Or being able to accept all of it. And then in each situation, being able to say, okay, is this the place where, what is my control over here? What do I not have
Control
control
over.
over, right? Because a lot of the things that we do in life, even, something as content creation, right? You could say that, oh, I want to be a content creator, Nyame na ɛhwɛ nipa, and just, lay in your bed and be like, you know, Nyame will figure it out for
Hmm.
me, right? Versus, I want to be a content creator. I know there are aspects of it that maybe I don't have control over, like the algorithm, da 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 da, all these things. However, I have control. I cannot be a content creator without creating
Right.
content,
Hmm.
right? That if maybe I don't have control over the algorithm, I can create, right? And so
Hmm.
if I'm creating, I am increasing my probability of the algorithm meeting me one day,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Meeting me one day. Because if it's, let's say, if it's whatever, it's by chance. And then I have more of the chances in there, the probability of maybe Nyame will come in and pick. If the algorithm is Nyamena or Bana
Right.
or pick, yeah, right.
Right.
I
Hmm.
am a lot in there. I
Hmm.
am putting myself in there versus if the algorithm is Nyamena or Bana or pick, yeah, well, we need hobby.
Hmm.
Or Becca say, oh, Ebia, at least let me pick your content and do
Right.
something with it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is a whole lot, right? And this a favorite book that I like to read almost every beginning of the year. It's called The Alchemist, and it has a saying
Hmm.
that, and when you want something, right, the whole universe conspires with you to get it. right? So again, conspires with you. It didn't say, oh, the universe will give it to
To you.
you,
Right.
but the universe and you will be conspiring to get it together, right?
Right.
So you can say, if you want 5 kids, right, and your goal is I want 5 kids, and you are like, to have 5 kids, maybe I need a 4 bedroom house, I need this, I need that, I'm going to work towards it, then maybe Nyame or the universe will conspire with you and say that, okay, this person is really trying here. So let me make things right for them, right? Versus you just giving birth and saying Nyame na hwɛ nipa, right? Then
Yeah.
what are you doing about it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, Nyame na hwɛ nipa ba obetua school fees. Untumi kotua school fees na wonka say, oh, Nyame na hwɛ nipa, and I say me wo me ba no ma Nyame so hwɛ.
You go to the headmaster say, headmaster be, All right.
Yeah, yeah.
No, great points all around. And bringing it back to the algorithm conversation, I think it's in your control what quality you put in your content, how frequently you
Mm-hmm.
post, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even reading around to get a sense of what times are the
Mm-hmm.
better times to post.
Mm-hmm.
And then if one day, it hits for you, then boom, algorithm, you go
Mm-hmm.
you go viral, you hit more of your population, they follow you and you pick up that
Yeah.
way. But you have
Mm-hmm.
to do a little bit of your homework as well and not
Mm-hmm.
leave it
Mm-hmm.
all for
Yeah.
God to take care of Nipa. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, the next one is a bit more sensitive. We're talking about the pressure we give to people to get married and then to have kids, especially women, right? And anytime,
Yeah.
not every time necessarily, but sometimes when we talk about how, Charlie, we have to
Mm-hmm.
stop that, your time will pass, or your like at a certain age,
Yeah.
how do you
Mm-hmm.
balance that with the biological clock? Because it's legitimate, right?
It
How,
is. It is legitimate, right? And it is legitimate, and also I think it depends on the people who are telling you these things, right?
Mhm,
Because like from conversations that I have had with my mom, when
mhm,
she asked me, oh, when are you gonna give birth and all of that, like there is some level of care and love in there, like, hey, look at me, right? My life is this way because of the children that I gave birth to. Look at all the things that you are doing for me. I can call you, I can do this, my mom's parents have passed, and she likes, since my parents passed, you guys are like my everything, and I want that for you someday, that if I'm not around, at least you can have somebody to be around. So when you think about it, right, there is some level of care. I think sometimes we don't get to have these conversations with the people that, and I'm not saying some stranger
right, right.
out there in the world who knows nothing about you,
Yeah.
who knows
Mhm,
nothing about. But I'm saying, the people closest to you, that sometimes there is, it can be triggering, and I understand, right? I am somebody. If you bring up that topic, I can, I can be so quick with
yeah.
you that maybe I will hurt your feelings in a way, versus no, sometimes be like, okay, let's have this conversation. Why
Mhm,
do you keep on saying this and saying this? Okay, I get you, right?
mhm,
And also, yeah, and also you cannot, there are so many factors. Again, going back to, not having control over things, there are so many
right.
factors that people don't have control
Over.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's
Exactly.
not just
So,
black and white. You cannot just
mhm,
go out there and pick somebody out from the streets and be like, okay, you are
mhm,
the one. There are
right.
so many factors that has
Mhm,
to make it happen. Yeah.
yeah. Yep. So, while I guess the phrase of "oh, your time is you're getting a certain age, hurry up and
Mm-hmm,
have kids
mm-hmm,
and have and all of that,"
mm-hmm,
who is saying it matters.
mm-hmm.
Who is saying it and who you're saying it to has to be, I
Yeah.
guess, two of the topmost things, and your own intention of
Mm-hmm,
saying it, right? Are you saying it out of
mm-hmm.
love? And then you also have to think about how the person you're speaking to will receive it,
It's
how
good.
it will
Exactly.
impact them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
honestly,
Mm-hmm.
from my point of view, if you're not my mother or a very close family that, and even that sometimes you already know, if you're my mother, you already know what I'm going through.
You're the,
You
exactly,
understand?
right?
So
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
because so you really, oh, catch what am I supposed to do with that information? Like,
Exactly,
if you tell
exactly.
me your time has come, you have to hurry up and get married. It's like, what, if I want to get married, you,
Hmm.
what do you think I'm doing? Like, I'm actually at a gate and telling people I won't marry you, I won't marry you. You understand? you know. So and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you who's telling me this,
yeah,
why? You know. So
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
the phrase is unnecessary.
And also there are so many connotations. I think it's different for men than it
Yeah,
is
absolutely. I don't even think men
for
hear it so as nearly as much as
for
women do.
women,
Yeah.
right? Because somehow if you're a woman at a certain age, you're not married, there's this idea that
You're
you are
deficient.
you are like Jezebel. You are the most callous, insensitive. You are feminist. Like there's this whole idea. So we did, like, there is literally hatred for you. Like people literally hate you. Um, and so it makes it difficult for women. And we also have to, I think, when we say that, we don't give people the opportunity to have a choice, right? That there are
Yeah.
people who are single by choice, and that's good. That's their
Yeah.
decision, right?
Hmm.
There are people who do not have children by choice, and that's their decision. That's great. And then we also have to come to, there are people who do not have children because they've tried and tried and tried and tried, and it's
Hmm.
not working for them, right? So if you see them all the time and that's what you say, I say, oh, bring you chromo all the time. Like,
Hmm.
I'm just here to spend time with you. Should you remind me? Like, maybe you already know. I am going to operate from the assumption that the people who know will not ask you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
They would not. It wouldn't be the thing that they ask you
Hmm.
all the
It's
time. My
it's
friends,
usually
it's
the people
not
who don't know. It's usually the people who don't know
exactly.
your life who will ask,
Yeah.
and that's what pisses me off because, like, who are you? You understand? Because
Exactly. You
really,
you
the
don't
people.
know,
Mhm.
yeah, the context. You don't know anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember one of my friends. Apparently, because I didn't know this, like, I guess a friend of a friend really had several miscarriages, right? So they'd been married for 5, 6 years or so and didn't have kids yet. It's when she finally had a child that the friend that I'm actually closer to, mentioned that, yeah, oh no, like she's so happy about this child because she had miscarried this many times. And, then if I ever asked him, like, when are you gonna have a child? See how foolish I would feel, right?
Yeah. You
Because
would have
he's
been an asshole, right?
right, because he's actively trying and
Yeah.
miscarrying, and then
Hmm.
I will go and throw it in there, whether as a joke or whatever it
Yeah.
is, to
Yeah.
say, so you've been married for 5 years. When are you having a child? It's like, dude,
That
you
is,
know,
I don't know. That's so gross. I don't even see something like that coming from my mouth. And I don't know how that comes from their mouth, right?
I
Especially
honestly don't
somebody
know.
that you don't know. And
Hmm.
I get that question a lot on social media. Again, it's also very gendered, that when I talk
Yeah.
about certain things, the question would be, are you married? Do you have children? And I'm like, I'm not gonna get into this.
Yeah, I think we were on a live together when you got one of those
Hmm.
questions. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, again, as a society, we have tied so many things to
Hmm.
marriage and and kids. And I get that there are certain
Hmm.
situations where when you have experience, it helps with the conversation. But sometimes
Yeah,
it has nothing to
it
do
has
with it.
nothing.
You make your post
Hmm.
now, somebody will come and write, you are saying this because it's like, you don't know me,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. If I'm talking about violence against women, IPV,
Hmm.
DV, it has nothing to do with it. It's wrong.
Right?
Like
And
it's
somebody will
it's
come,
it's
somebody will come and ask,
it's
"Are you
wrong.
are you married?" As though if you
Yeah.
were married, you would understand why
Do
somebody would
you
hurt
hate
their partner.
men? Yeah. Like if I
Hmm.
am married, why would I understand that it's okay to abuse the
Your
person you
partner.
love,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then it's
Yeah.
like, what kind of marriage are you having out there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's very loaded, and so hopefully whoever is listening, don't ask, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying the thoughts doesn't. Of course, we all have intrusive thoughts, right? Our thoughts are are shaped by our experiences, our cultural norms, but not every thought that comes to mind.
Has to come out
Should
of your mouth. Yeah.
exactly.
Honestly, I want to say when in doubt, don't ask. But I should really remove the when in doubt from there. Like,
Don't ask.
don't ask. I think it's a
Exactly.
ridiculous question to ask somebody,
Yeah.
when are you gonna have kids? Because once again, if you're close enough to that person where you deserve an answer to that question, you already know the
You
answer.
already know. You've already
Yeah.
had conversations about it.
Yeah.
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 Okay. The next one is similar to the one that we talked about, kids. Hurry up and be done
Mhm.
with it. Like you intend you and set free home.
Oh, like having kids,
Yeah.
like having
If
multiple kids,
maybe,
like
yeah,
hurry up.
if you want to have three kids all together, you have kid number one,
Oh.
then we'll say hurry up and be done with it so you can live your life. It's like,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm, mhm.
and I think again, it probably started with the, biological clock in mind. Um,
Yeah.
and also maybe with, honestly, I don't know what else, but it's like the hurry up and be done with it has people having two, three kids who are very, very close.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody who have three under two or two, and it's
Yes,
like
yeah. Like I
you,
know,
you look at them and you're like, you haven't slept in.
you understand because
Yeah.
everybody is still so young. Everybody's still figuring so much out, and it's really honestly a little bit more helpful if you kind of take it as you go and
Hmm.
actually think through your decisions because
You
sometimes,
decide for yourself.
you
Yeah.
know, and sometimes actually if maybe you have one and if that's all you want or that's what you all you
Hmm.
can take care of,
Hmm.
comfortably and have a decent relationship with your partner as well all the way through,
Hmm.
that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think we need to limit the, your Nintendo use a free home. Oh, and when are you going to have your next child? Like, I want to see, because if you have one child, they will tell you, the child needs somebody to play with. If you have two, then they will tell you, oh, only two, give.
Baku free my birthday. Like
That's
nonsense.
such a nonsense question. It's like such a nonsense question. Like if you lose a child, you're gonna be like, you know what, I lost a child. Let me replace it with one more.
Replace, yeah.
You know. And then when you have three, they'll tell you three is an odd number. One will feel like the middle child. Before you know, by this time now you have 6, 7, 8
They'll
children.
convince you, yeah.
Not, and you can't take care of them or you're struggling. And the people that pressured you to have them will not come to
They
your
will
aid.
not babysit or anything for you.
Because they are busy with their own lives. You know. So in as much as we are telling people to not say some of these things, you on the receiving end as well, don't take it to heart too much. I honestly don't believe we can ever get people to stop saying some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why many days I actually target the people who are hearing it to
Mm-hmm.
you don't take it to heart, because
Yeah.
if you internalize some of these things, it'll be too much heartache for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. That hopefully you know that you are making the decisions for yourself, right? That
Mhm.
if they tell you have five kids, they are not bringing you a check. They are not bringing you a home. They are not going to look for schools with you. And again, the people who care about you, my hope is that they are not going to tell you these things, right? Because
Yeah.
I know for me in my close circle, nobody is worrying anybody to have any number of kids. Like you're like, I don't want to have kids. Okay,
Mhm.
that's fine. That's your decision. I want to have kids. Okay. We are here. When is the baby shower? Okay.
Mhm.
Right. Nobody is forcing anyone to live a certain kind of life. So it's usually the people on the outside who
Mhm.
are uncomfortable or who,
For
again,
some, for some reason, why are you
their
uncomfortable
own
about somebody
protection.
else's life? Why are you?
Life, right? If five kids is good for you, go have them, right? And then you are living your life so that you don't cause somebody else headache.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think on my live yesterday, I don't know if you had come in yet. we had a slightly peculiar situation where this guy said his mom said, "You can have the kids. I'll take them. I'll take care of them." Right. So what about somebody who's close enough that will say, "I got you." Like if you're worried that you won't have the time to raise
Mhm.
two
Mhm.
or one additional kid, I'll take them,
Mhm.
and you trust that they in
Mhm.
fact will. Does that make any
Mhm.
difference?
I think it does, right?
Okay.
Because again, it that's a relationship with the person, and it's also it's your reason that okay, I'm not having kids now because maybe I don't have a community or I don't have reliable people around them. Then is that conversation? Because even sometimes in therapy, that comes up where people may want certain things, however, their own thought process around it, right?
Mhm.
We've seen certain instances where people are making decision maybe to not get married or to not have kids because of past hurts or past trauma. So it's not actually their a decision coming from a place of empowerment or from a place of healing, but it's coming from a place of trauma or from a place of hurt. Then we can unpack that and be like, okay, what do you need in this situation? Is it that okay, maybe you have the right finances, you have all of these things. What's missing? It's maybe a community. Can you cultivate that community so that you get what you want? Because you're like, I want to be a parent, that's very important to me. Then you can prepare for that. So if that's the reason, if you know that's the reason, and you are like, and also you cannot do it on your own. There is no way you can parent a child on your own.
Mhm.
So I don't know
Mhm.
how somebody would think they could do it on their own
Yeah.
at whatever point in your life,
Yeah. No,
whether you
it's
are
tough.
20, 30, 40, 50, you cannot parent.
You need
So,
you need your little village. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Now the last one, it's a perfect one for you given your expertise in trauma. Is the whether it be I stayed for the kids or you know
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even you're in a relationship you're struggling and somebody would advise you that for the kids' sake stay, right? So yeah, actually a few days ago we were on a live where somebody was almost bashing the people who say things like it's like who chastise people who stay for the kids, like isn't it a good enough reason if I stay for the kids even if I ended up losing my life? Like I feel like this person feels like staying for the kids is a good enough reason even if it leads to the loss of their own life.
Mm.
So I'll leave it open to you hit on the I stayed for the kids or staying for the kids so that they can have a two-parent household, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Um. Again, we wouldn't know. I mean, on TikTok, people wouldn't tell you their true intention, right?
Mhm.
So, what I have come to know is that I stay for the kids is the surface. It's just the surface stuff that sometimes it's shame that I want to raise my children in a two parent household because single parents are shamed, right?
Right. Hmm.
Or divorce is frowned upon, or all of these things. So sometimes the I stay for the kids is just what it's like, okay, if I'm being abused and I tell you that I'm staying for the kids, you would understand it more than if I tell you that, oh, maybe I'm staying because I love this person, or I'm staying because I don't want a divorce, or I don't want anybody
Mm.
to say this. That's like, why are you staying? But the moment you say, oh, I stay for the kids, then you appear to be the hero in that situation where it's like you are sacrificing for the kids.
Right.
But time and time again, we know that it doesn't help the kids.
I think that
It
that's the
damages the
point.
kids.
You know,
Yeah.
you think you're
And
staying for the kids so that they
so
can
it's
have a
not really for the
two-parent
kids. Yeah.
household,
Mm-mm.
but the two-parent household isn't what you think it is. If it's a
Mm-hmm.
household that you are actively in danger, what makes you think that
Mm-hmm.
your kids are having a
Mm-hmm.
swell time and they would have a great
Yeah.
life?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, you-
Yeah.
uh, I think many times parents think kids don't hear things because you're not
Oh.
fighting in front of the kid every time. Like every time
Mm-hmm.
you fight when you're only in your room, you think the
Mm-hmm.
kids don't know that it's not
Yeah.
rosy between you two.
If
But
if you're in a miserable marriage, your kids will know that you're miserable.
Mhm. Yeah.
They will know that maybe you're overthinking, you're sad, you're depressed. No matter how you try to cover it
Cover.
up, they would know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I always suggest that it will now, of course, every situation is different, right? And sometimes you
Hmm.
may actually need to see your own therapist to work through this.
Hmm.
But there's probably a
Hmm.
lot more good things for the child if you amicably separate and then maybe co-parent, you know.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I'm working with
Hmm.
the premise that the partner in question is a good dad or a good pet, a good wife, a good dad or a good mom, but it's not necessarily a good husband or a good wife, right? Assuming that's a thing,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
Now, so in that case, then if you separate, they can continue to be a good parent, even if the two of you
Yeah.
are in a good fit, as
Yeah.
spouses,
Hmm.
So there's
Hmm.
actually, it's better for the kids. They may be disappointed the
In
first
the
year
beginning,
or
yeah.
so, right?
Hmm.
But it really will be, better for
Because
them.
it's a time of transition for
Hmm.
them, right? Because I have sat with adults who are like, my parents should have divorced when I
When I
was
was like
two,
5,
or
yeah.
before even I was born. They should have just cut it
Hmm.
off. Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes the kids become teenagers and they are telling the parent, like, can you all just end this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, every now and then people throw around statistics say kids do better in two-parent household. But it's not just two-parent households, right? The two-parent households, the parents have to be active and it has to be a healthy household for it to be better than a single-parent household that is healthy and active.
Hmm.
So a
Hmm.
two-parent household
Yeah.
where
It's
there's
not
always
about the
conflict,
number.
where there's always
Yeah.
conflict and animosity isn't better than being raised by
Hmm.
a single parent.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
please,
Hmm.
please, please be honest with yourself and think through some of these decisions and not just stay for the kids. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that covers all that we have. But hopefully, this has everybody out there also kind of thinking through the things and the phrases that we have all heard growing up and
Hmm.
scrutinizing it a little bit more, for your own
Hmm.
purposes. One,
Yeah.
so you don't say it to other people, and two, so you also don't internalize it and have it affect your life in a negative way. Any final thoughts on your end, Alice?
Yeah. So like I think it all boils down to, it's very important to sometimes mind your business. Just
Minding,
just
minding your
mind,
business is a good thing. Yeah.
yeah, mind your business, right? When these thoughts come, don't say it. Like, oh yeah, I'm thinking maybe you need to have kids. Okay, let me. It's none of my business. Let me go. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just mind your business. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I just thought about a mini segment. Anything or any issue that has come up in the course of this week that you'd like to touch on?
I haven't been that active on social media this week that
Mm.
much, so I'm now gonna do my scrolling and see if
Hmm.
anything
Yeah.
that I could think of. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I did a couple videos on absentee fathers trying to, it was
Okay.
a little role play of an absentee father trying to
Hmm.
reconnect with the adult child. And
Okay.
the number of people who relate to that was almost sad. Like I set it
Hmm.
out to be funny, but then
Hmm.
it was very, very sad the number of people who related to it. The number of people who
Yeah.
said, "Yep, that sounds like my dad." Like that sounds like my dad. It's like fathers, please, take it from another father, please. Whether it be you have to do a lot more due diligence before you bring a child into the world, or when you have a child, even if you're not going to stay with the child's mom, please, 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 you have to play your own role in the child's life, you know. And if you don't, the generation of kids that are coming these days, Charlie, they won't do that. "Onyini a ọbẹba o." Oh, that's another phrase. They will tell a father like, "Oh, nkra no, onyini a ọbẹba," when they get old, they'll come and look for you. This generation, they won't come and look for you. In fact, they will actively curse you out.
Yeah.
So
Nobody's coming to look for you though.
you
So
understand. So please,
hopefully,
if you're not ready to be a father, don't have kids.
don't engage in any activities that's gonna result, whether
Hmm.
it's, yeah,
Mm,
don't and be like, oh, I thought the woman trapped me, or just, if you don't want to
yeah.
have kids, you have to actively make the choices that do not end in you
You
having
having kids.
kids, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching the video up until this point. If you haven't subscribed
Yeah.
already, please do. We are going to
Yeah.
do three
Subscribe,
more,
follow us
on our other social platforms.
hmm
We're going to do three
hmm
more episodes before we end season
yeah.
1. And then
hmm
then we'll come back, but
Yeah.
for everybody who has been with us up until this point, thank you very much. And we will see you on the next episode.
We'll see you in the next episode. Have a great
Bye
week.
bye.
Bye.